Today I'm working on the 1997 Dodge Viper GTS, the blue with white stripes one, on the brakes. So PFC, Performance Friction, they have given me some amazing calipers and rotors that I am prototyping the mounts and everything for this Dodge Viper on. So they don't offer a kit yet, but in working with them and their engineers, they were able to find brake rotors that were the absolute largest ones that could possibly fit in the wheels I have. And the current wheels I have on the Dodge Viper are not the original 17 inches. They're actually 18 in the front and 19 in the rear, which is the same dimensions as the last generation Dodge Viper. You do that because of tires. It's really hard to find the original tires. And if you want to put big brakes on, that's what you got to do. But anyway, so we found rotors that are a great dimensions, you know, in terms of diameter, in terms of offset, in terms of width and all that. And we've got amazing brake calipers here. They're 6-piston, just unbelievable, you know, monoblock technology, so they're wicked stiff. Effectively what you're going to see in Porsche GT3 spec racing nowadays. The rears, I've got these on here. Now keep in mind, I've got the rotor on backwards actually, just initially to measure something. So for all of you, they're like, why is this on this side? It's because the rotor comes off the black hat here, and I flipped it around just to do something for measuring. So long story short, how I'm doing the mounts on this is as follows. So these calipers mount, can you see the two holes there? One on either side, right there and right there. And they'll mount with studs. And then what you do is you have to remove the caliper to change the pads. That's how they get these so stiff. But it's quite easy to do. But the Dodge Viper originally, we'll see if we can see this together, has this aluminum upright, and some people call that a spindle, but there's the aluminum upright. And if we look over here, I think you guys will be able to see, oh goodness gracious, where is it? Here. I got this bolt hanging out in it, and this bolt hanging out in it, new ones. But these are the aluminum ears that mount it to the original caliper, because the original caliper I've got hanging right back here, and you can see the mounts on it right there and over there. Well, that's nice because it bolts on, but in the land of super high performance world and prototyping and making cool new things, you've got to prototype, you've got to make it work. So what I've had to do is make mounts. Now, when I told you guys originally, we found rotors that would work and we found calipers that would work. And I don't recall if it was the rear or the front at this moment, but actually, two of the calipers are from some Audi, and the other rotors, and the other two rotors are from, I believe, a Tesla package that you can put on it. And like I said, the brake calipers have actually got prototype ones on the front, but effectively what you got in like Porsche GT3. So let me find the mount I already made. Now I know some of you are gonna be like, that's ugly, dirt. Well, this is a staged process. So I made this steel mount, and as you can see, the two holes that you're looking at right there, those bolt to the original upright ears, shall we say, and they fit down in that slot. And you can see it's on both sides. So what I did is I modified it so that the bolt, the original bolt that would go into the hole the caliper on that threads into the upright, goes through that hole and then bolts this mount down tight to it. But then the bolt is long enough that it goes to the other side and I can put a nut on the back. And the reason being is that provides strength on both sides. It puts it effectively in double shear to make this rock solid. Now the other thing you guys will notice, I'm trying to go somewhere a little quieter, these big holes here and the small holes there with those nice mounting planes, well, the top surface here and here, I'm using on my hands, is where the caliper mounts. And what I did was, when I made this, I utilized a mountain bike, and I'm gonna have to get, hopefully you guys can hear me, we're grinding in here, and Aiden's working on his IndyCar project, so he's doing that. So just deal with it, people, it's a shop. So where is it? Hey, Ethan, do you know where the mountain bike pump is?
Right here.
Oh, okay, here it is. Thank you, dude. So I had this laying around. This is a mountain bike, high pressure Schrader valve pump for an air shock in the rear. So what I did was, I simply installed a Schrader valve into the brake caliper, which you can see right here, and I can attach it to the caliper and put air pressure in it and monitor that so that the brake pads go and grab really, really tight. So with the roller bolted on tight, so it's dead perfect, then I can take the caliper and have the caliper grab it so it's perfectly square, and then I quickly just gently shim and make sure the pistons haven't pushed off center a little bit. And then from there, by holding the rotor, I can then start measuring and looking and fabricating, as you guys should be able to see here. And I know it looks a little bit ugly, it was MIG quickly here, but the mount, just like that. And then of course, I've got this aluminum plate down here to shield the caliper just from spatter and crap like that. But that's how I'm fabricating the initial test mounts. Now the test mounts, they're gonna be strong enough, they're gonna be good enough, they'll probably work forever just fine. But the reason I like doing it this way, let me see where I set down that mount. Yeah, here it is. The reason I like doing it this way, first of all, this is gonna work. It's not really that heavy, it's fabricated steel. And as a note, on this Indy car, the upright here, this is fabricated steel, sheet steel and stuff. So it's a very strong way to do things regardless of what people tell you. And as long as you got good penetration on your welds and everything's fantastic. And if anybody wants to criticize me, I'll tell you this, I had to jam my head with the welding helmet into the wheel well and weld this literally this far from my face. So it's hard to see and do and move things around. So that's kind of the magic of it. But anyway, so the holes there, I got a like grade 10.9 or super high aircraft grade bolt that I can put through that hole. And then, well, you can't see the width anymore, but the width is the inner width of that is exactly the same dimension as the bolt head. So it acts like a wrench. So you can just put the caliper right over the bolts, thread it down with really great hardware, and bam, you're done. So I'm gonna paint this with some higher temp, really high quality paint, and I'll be able to go test this. You're not gonna just do some small tests and see if pry and see if it moves at all. And then if I like it, then I can look at it and how many dimensions I have, and if it fits or if I wanna move anything dimensional wise, I can then take this, measure it, scan it, you know, put it in the computer, give it to a machinist, and we can machine this out of whatever. And then instead of using the bolts that go through, you know, it can be drill and tap for some really high quality studs, which is typically the way that you'll do high-end calipers like this. But it's a stage of the game in the process that few people will tell you about. And here's the studs. These are really high-end studs for racing. You can see the coarser thread here at the bottom, which would typically go into your aluminum mount or whatnot. And then up here, the finer thread that'll go through. And then this is kind of great. Typically you'd inset it a little bit. So this part here, the shank that's machined nicely, would then go countersink in just a little bit to also help locate it and give it even more strength that way. You can obviously see here are the rear calipers just chilling. You know, just super high quality, you guys. But you can see how the studs fit down there perfectly. But of course the bolts I have work very well too. Also the Viper spindles were not originally designed for this. However, in the front, the reason we put in so much time choosing what rotors would be the closest and put things in the right spot with the calipers is, one, you want the biggest, best brakes you can get on there. And also, in honesty, I've got to do this super precise because my caliper will clear my wheels by less than 5 millimeters. It's probably between 3 and 5 millimeters. So we're right on the ragged edge of clearance there. So they really are the biggest possible rotors you can get in there, and the best calipers. Obviously, you guys, a lot of people out there are like, carbon ceramic brakes, yeah. Okay, let me tell you this. The F1 car in there and the Indy car right here are both running steel brakes. And IndyCar and Champ car, on a car that held the record of like 240 some miles an hour on an oval, the only time they put on carbon brakes was for an oval. And they don't heat up well. So the large truth about carbon, ceramic, and ceramic brakes on expensive hypercars and stuff is it's a way for the company to make a lot more money off of rich people. And truthfully being told, in road course racing, especially, you know, something like the Viper or something vintage, you know, even this Indy car, steel is better. So I just want to tell you guys that. Just because something is some newfangled exotic material does not mean it's actually better for your application. It may just mean it's a way for a car company to make a lot more money off rich people, and that's it. So I'm gonna get time lapse going here. I'm gonna pull that off. I'm gonna weld it up a little bit more, and as a note, when I would weld that, I would leave it all bolted together so as it cools, it doesn't move around as much. But it is more of a mild steel, so you can get away with a lot more. But I think it's gonna be good. So let me weld that puppy up. Then we'll fit them one last time, clean them up, shoot some paint on it, and hopefully have some calipers on here. Here we go. Okay guys, I got my test mounts finished and I was gonna say drying, cooling off. So here they are, built like a brick poop house. I think it's gonna work great for testing, and who knows, maybe they'll be just fine indefinitely. But the nice thing about fabbing something up like this is basically I'm interpolating points. By holding the caliper in space exactly where it needs to be in the rotor, then you know how you have to connect it and the best way to do it. And also I misspoke, I said double shear because there's holes on either wall. Actually, they're both in single shear, it's just that there's two of them, so it's stronger, and also makes it so this thing can't twist. So that's what you want. You want your caliper to be rock solid. But anyway, Ethan here, nice young guy. A number of years back, I was mentoring him with design. So he's taking some time helping out and learning some things. So Ethan, we switched those two rotors, right? Why do we do that?
Well, we want to get the rotors more inboard than where we were at.
Correct, they weren't mounted correctly.
That's correct.
Yeah, because the cooling, the cool air has to come from the inboard, inside, and then basically they act like water pump impellers and pulling the air up through them. So we got them mounted correctly and on the correct sides. You guys can see that here. And then the air will come from the behind area and go up in through here and then out. That's how that works. Works like a water pump. So the trouble is, Ethan, do you want to pull this off so they can see the spindle back here? Problem we got here, guys, is here's the spindle. So it's it's a cast aluminum affair. Obviously, Vipers and Corvettes did similar things. And then you got this big iron bearing cassette here with the 4 nasty bolts that hold it in. Obviously, 6 stud that you see with Dodge Vipers. But these ears here for the original crummy caliper in the back, they're in the way. So there really is no way around it. It's kind of a drag. I'm gonna have to cut these ears off. I was actually thinking for a hot second of running the rotors kind of backwards because we had room, so I don't have to cut the car, but hey, I'm this far in it. So we're gonna have to literally just knock those off. And then the bolts here, you can see one here going through to here. I've got longer ones from ARP that are super high strength, and I'm gonna have to make the mount that comes off the back to hang the caliper here. So that's gonna come up next week. But that's what Ethan was working on. So I'm just gonna go ahead and paint these bad boys with the best paint I got. Funny thing is, all I got left is 4 blue. So you're not gonna see them, but there'll be 4 blue test mounts. So let's time lapse that thing, and then when they're dried, bolt that stuff up and see if she's pretty. Holy crap, it is a lot of work building that stuff, fitting it up, getting it on, and doing all that. Let's go look at it. So we got the left front wheel on, things are painted, still tacky. Assemble it while it's drying. So I got paint in my nose. I wasn't huffing it, but I went like that. Yeah, I don't feel that great. Anyway, so, excuse me. So here it is, you guys. Like, I hope you can kind of get the vibe of just how massive this rotor is. It is genuinely impossible to put on a larger rotor in my 18-inch wheels. This is the beautiful PFC, monoblock style, 6-piston calipers. Basically exactly like what's on Porsche GT3 new Cup stuff. This is in fact a true full floating race disc, not a semi-floating tight one for the street. So I might hear it go clatter clatter a little bit, like over slow bumps and stuff, but this is as good as it gets. It really is, and I'm super excited. So it's all on here well. I'm happy with the fitment, and of course I can make some new mounts someday. You can kind of see them in here, the forward blue, because that was the color I had mounted on both sides of that bolt. So really, really, really strong, really nice, and super happy with that. And yeah, guys, this is going to be really incredible. So Ethan here has been learning a lot and doing a lot of stuff. And I'm going to give him the honors of throwing the other one on. You were kind of excited about that, right?
Yeah, this has been a tremendous challenge because all the custom designs had to go into this because these weren't originally designed for this car. So
yeah,
the custom fabrications had to go into building the brackets that hold on the new calipers.
Making ones that'll work.
Yeah.
The process of building it, how to construct it, how to think it through with what we got.
It's been a tremendous challenge, but I really look forward to seeing how these turn out and then, getting to see how these perform.
Yeah, I think they'll work great. And then in the future, we can, make some out of a billet aluminum if I like. And it works pretty darn well. So fortunately, my brake lines are nice braided ones. So I was able to use those with new banjo fittings and stuff I got. And the master cylinder, I'll have to double check and see if it's going to be paired well to these brakes. But we still have to do the rear. I did kind of a quickie redneck used car salesman, hit it with a wire brush and shot some silver paint on it just so it looks better, because the steel here and here was never done and it just looked really rad. Makes it easier to see on the rear. So still have to do the rear, which is like, oh man, because doing the front was enough work already. But old Viper's come along really well. You can see I wrinkle finished the rocker covers. I'm going to do the intake here soon. But so brakes will be done as good as it gets. Got the KW shocks, that's as good as it gets. Two-way adjustable KW coilovers, PFC brakes, got Hoosier tires, got PWR radiator, custom radiator with brushless fans and oil cooler up front, so that's as good as it gets. So we should be grand there. And the car should be ready to first test on the track. I've got my McLeod twin disc clutch over here, which I'll decide if we want to throw that in right now or wait a little bit later. I'm kind of inclined to see if we can do it now, but I'll have to do it with the car and jack stands, which I don't relish that idea. But it's exciting. So unfortunately, you guys may have to wait a few months before, sorry about that, before it's time to get on the track and test and see how all this is. But I think it's gonna be really good and enjoyable, and then I can come back and then we can do things like put in ARP, connecting rod bolts and roller rockers and bigger push rods and get the motor really happy and internally stronger. I'm not gonna beat on it, rev to the moon, but gonna wanna do that. So that'll be all hunky-dory. And then from there, if I wanna do the exhaust and headers or side pipes, and then get into aero. Roll cage, yeah, screw that. I don't give a shit. I might do some stuff to stiffen it so it handles better, but just let it be rugged. All right, see you guys next time.
Do you find school annoying? Do you like building hot rods? If you were in Washington, D.C., would you Uber all the way from the bar to the Russian embassy to urinate on their front gate? Then you may have what it takes to start a space program. Bam! Breaking All the Rules by Jim Cantrell, where he does all of those cool things and more. Yes, he was the guy that Elon Musk called to take him into Russia to try to buy the engines from their nuclear weapons. And then when the Russians were annoying, they're like, you know what? Let's just do it ourselves. And you may be that kind of person to just do it yourself. Like Jim, he's a cool guy. Yes, I lost a bet to him, but that's beside the point. I have read it, and it's great. Actually, you're gonna be surprised. You really should actually read this, because if you like building hot rods and you think space cool and school is annoying, you're gonna resonate. So buy his book. Go in the description below and check it out. You will not be disappointed.